you find me happily absorbed, bashing a couple of chicken breasts into elegant escalopes or cutlets. This is disturbingly gratifying. But these are ready. A bit of calm now. Before they get their crunchy coating, I'm going to bathe them in Dijon mustard. Even though they get such a brief dunking, the mustard really seems to tenderize them and gives such piquancy. On top of the mustard, some cinnamon. One clove of garlic, just mince it in. And finally, 1 egg, just to bring everything together and help it stick to the chicken breasts. And I shall whisk these together. Ah, the gold and the blue. It's like the beach. And now in for a brief dip go these beautiful, look how thin, escalopes. This is so enjoyable. There's enough here to give quite a good thick coating. I'm going to leave these lying happily here while I go and wash my hands. This really is as easy as 1, 2, 3. We've had 1, the bashing, 2, the bathing, and 3, the crunchy coating. And this crunchy coating comes courtesy of cornflakes. I love the crumb you get from these. And now I massage and coax the cornflakes into crumbs. This whole recipe is a bit like being a 3-year-old, only better. I'm going to deepen the golden tan of the cornflake crumbs by adding some smoked pimenton or paprika. This adds a bit of heat, always good. So 1 by 1, these bathing beauties go into the cornflake crumbs to get crunchily coated. I find it easiest just to put each cutlet or escalope into the crumbs and then sprinkle or dust the top with more. And just carry on until they're thickly coated. While these chicken escalopes settle in their slightly fiery cornflake coating, I'll get on with my fennel, watercress and radish salad. First, a bulb of fragrant fennel, sliced as thinly as possible. If you aren't as clumsy as I am, you could use a mandolin, but I just don't trust myself with one. The same goes for the radishes, about 4 to 6 cut into thin discs. And a couple of handfuls of peppery watercress to line the plate, before showering the fennel on top. A squeeze of lemon, a pinch of sea salt, a trickle of extra virgin olive oil, and that's it. Right, I don't need much oil, and because these are so thin, I don't need much time. I'm ready to flip. And the outside is so crunchy. And they're done. A small readjustment of my leaves. And it's crunch time. Hello, can I have the lamb ribs, please? Lamb ribs are cut from the breast, and I lived on breast of lamb when I was a student. I used to braise them in one piece all the time. Now I go for the ribs, which I roast with cumin seeds and Nigella seeds, and I can tell you it's the way forward.
Thank you.
Because I want to keep the flavour of the lamb ribs to the fore, I'm not coating them in a sticky glaze, because this is really about the marriage between spice and meat. I start with Nigella seeds. I mean, if you have a spice with the same name as you, it's a bit rude not to use it. Their slight lemon-scented pepperiness is boosted by the glorious pungency of cumin. Hard for me to have lamb without cumin. The fat on the ribs means I need only a little oil, just to help the spices stick to them. To highlight the sweetness of the meat, the saltiness of some soy sauce. All I need now is some garlic, quite a bit of garlic. Just mince them in. So all I do is schmooze the ribs in this scant mixture, just so they're glossed with conker shiny liquid and freckled with spices. Because they're a fatty cut, I roast them on a tin with a wire rack, so all the excess fat drips down, but still, it's that fat which gives them all the flavour and that lip-smacking stickiness. You certainly need a lot of napkins when you eat these. I was recently told that the literal translation of Nigella seed in Arabic is seed of blessing, which seems entirely right for any sort of meal. I cook these in a low oven just till the meat is tender and the fat crisp. Here we are, ribs.
Oh,
your favourite, is she?
Oh, divine. Ella, that's for you. Lovely.
While my fish tacos are inspired by my many visits to taquerias on the west coast of America, rest assured, no frying is involved. These are lovely hake fillets, which I've just sliced lengthwise. And on the hake, I want some paprika for just a gentle kick. And the fragrant earthiness of cumin. Of salt.
What kind of feed make milk? It's like a cockatoo.
Sprinkle this over. Rather messily. I'm roasting the fish, so I need a bit of olive oil. I don't want to bombard them with flavour because there's so much going on with the fish taco, and that's the point. But a bit of garlic, always good. And now, wonderful anointing I roast the fish at a very high temperature for a very short time so the garlic doesn't burn. Right, into the oven. Now, I do know that you wouldn't find corn niblets in a taqueria on the west coast of America, but this is what I do. A can of corn niblets, a bit of salt, chopped red chilli, and some chopped coriander, or cilantro as they say over there. Perfect. And a quick decant. Along with the corn, I like to have some mayo spiked with chili sauce on the side, as well as a tangle of red onions that I've steeped in lime juice. Just gorgeous. I have to concentrate so I don't drop them. And now I'm going to add a touch of much denigrated iceberg. Gives such great crunch in the tacos. Teeny bit of coriander. I'll just grab my tortillas and it's taco time. I'll admit my chicken shawarma relies on an awful lot of spices, but this couldn't be easier to make. And besides, any recipe that starts with the zest and juice of 2 lemons makes my heart sing. And this involves minimal washing up, always an important factor for me. I throw everything in a plastic bag and I've already got 12 skinless, boneless chicken thighs nestling in there. Got some serious impaling work to do, because on top of that fabulous mimosa sprinkle of lemon zest, now the sharpness of the juice. Remarkably pipless lemons, although I don't much mind if a pip or two falls in. Very satisfying work. I want some olive oil, just regular olive oil. Bit of moisturiser. And now for my carefully calibrated spice collection. Some paprika first off. Gorgeous colour and gorgeous taste. Next, cumin. And the thing about these spices is it's not their individual voices, but it's the choir of flavour when they're together. Coriander, always the junior partner to cumin, but no less valuable, dried chilli flakes. And now a slight flirt with the sweeter spices. Before I put too much in, a little bit of cinnamon. And some nutmeg, just freshly grated over. Going a bit more boisterous now with some garlic. Don't be alarmed, though, the garlic doesn't overwhelm. It's all perfectly harmonious. And I'm happy to throw the end bits in, and then... Fabulous. Need a crunch of salt. And 2 bay leaves. Serious bit of squelching to do now. This just sits in the fridge, gaining in tenderness and flavour, and then it goes into a hot oven for 30 minutes and it's cooked. The thing about the chicken shawarma, it's how you eat it as well as the fabulousness of the chicken itself. So I want a pile of warm flatbreads on the table, some tomatoes I'll chop up with some fresh mint, some shredded lettuce to go under the chicken, of course my pickle purchases. Oh, and I have to have my tahini yogurt sauce, which I sprinkle with pomegranate seeds. Now, although tradition decrees that this sauce should be served only with lamb shawarma, I think it partners my chicken perfectly. Start with regular plain yogurt and stir in some tahini, that rich and grainy sesame paste that I like to keep on hand. Add a good sprinkle of sea salt flakes and mince or grate in some garlic. When I serve this, I add a scattering of ruby pomegranate seeds, but for now, all I need to do is stir it together. As I'm making this ahead of time, I simply cover and chill this until I need it. I have peeps arriving and the heady aroma of chicken shawarma to welcome them with. William, you're meant to be on bread duty.
Oh, yes, I'm going to be on bread duty.
But really too busy with the talking. And now I'll take it. Thank you very, very much. I'm with you in a minute. There you are. I'm going to try and give you some lettuce too. Oh, you got one. So you have. Oh, yeah. They're beautiful, aren't they? The pink, the red, and the gold.
Right, yeah.
I'm loving that so much. It's like a cocktail.
That's better.
What's in that sauce?
Tahini, yog, and garlic. Can I recommend a bit of the very nice pink turnip?
Please.
This.
It's pretty.
And then I am going to apply to face.
Do you want a fork?
You have to wear your napkin like the old boys do, tucked in.
I've now reduced to fork behaviour.
Really delicious.
If I get home late at night when I should have eaten an hour ago, there's only one thing for it: griddled halloumi with sweet chilli sauce. I don't mean the sort of sauce you get out of a jar, but this is a homemade one which takes practically no time. For optimal heat, I take the seeds out of one of the chilies, but leave them in the other two. Works for me. There is quite a fair bit of chili here, but I want a fair bit of fire. Always a pleasure to get the pixie pan into play. Oh, I'm going to have fun taking my lenses out later. And I want sweet with my heat. Some honey, not an extravagant amount. I've got honeyed sweetness and I've got fire, but what they and I need is a tangy spritz of sourness. And now, hobwood bound. I'm staying put for a while because all I really need is to wait for this to come to a bubble, and it's going to be fast in such a teeny pan. And no sooner said. I like a bit of brinkmanship here, waiting to see how far up the foam can rise in the pan without boiling over. I'm going to lift it off the heat, or it'll go everywhere. The chilies have started to ooze their colour into the honey, giving it a rather 70s tangerine glow. And what this also means is that some of the heat from the chilies has infused the honey, which tempers the sweetness. The chilies have now softened, and the sauce is done. That's simple. Just going to sit it here so it cools slightly and let it thicken a bit. And now, I'm happy with the sweet heat, but there is something else I need. The searing saltiness of halloumi. Now, when it's in a cold block like this, it's just so much salt-flavoured polystyrene. Not that I mind that. But the magic really happens when heat comes into play. It's the heat that transforms it, making the interior molten and chewy. You can hear why it's called squeaky cheese, or it is in my house. Is there any better sound? I think not. Armed and ready. I love the bronze mottling, especially when I know it means I'm going to have a lovely crisp skin enveloping all that chewiness within. Right. Bit of salad strewing. And now I can put these babies on their bed. Spoon these glossy lipstick red slices of chili over each bit of halloumi. And the now hot, sharp, sweet honey. There's only one drawback to halloumi. It has to be eaten straight away. Hello, can I have the bavette?
Of course you can.
Thank you. It's the whole of it. Yeah. Lovely. Bavette steak is cut from the flank, and like all the cheaper cuts, it's so rich in flavour. I cook it for a very short time over very high heat, but I like to marinate it first. Thank you. And for this, I found a magic Asian ingredient that tenderises the meat and infuses it with its fragrant sourness. It's tamarind paste, a bit like date, but without the sweetness. I just dissolve it in water and stir it into a rough puree. To balance the sourness, I add saltiness with some soy sauce. Just a little sunflower oil, a bit of moisturiser for the meat. And finally some honey. Its sweetness offsetting the tartness of the tamarind. Just a little mixed together, and then it's ready to get working on the steak. I like to give it a good massage before it goes into the fridge to marinate. To partner my steak, my radical radishes. That's to say, I roast them. It may sound strange, but cooked, their hot crunch is mellowed to a juicy pepperiness. Just halve them from top to tail, then drizzle over some regular olive oil. And arrange them cut side down on a roasting tray. There's something rather restfully mesmeric about this activity. They need only 10 minutes in a hot oven, which, rather handily, is pretty much the time I need to cook and rest my steak. Now, my butcher taught me that the only way to cook a bavette is to sear the hell out of it, and I quote, and then cook it really rare. So this is going to be hot. Here goes. Just shake the marinade off. The wonderful thing about this tangy tamarind marinade is that it is so sour, it really intensifies the sweetness of the meat. So I give a bavette 2 minutes each side, ferocious, and then I let it rest for about 5. Turning him over. Oh. I love the char marks, and this is going to be properly black and blue. That's to say, blackened on the outside and really rare inside. I serve this carved into thin slices, and it's important that you carve against the grain, and you can see the grain so easily on a bavette, like that, going that way, and I shall slice this away. This is ready. And while the steak rests, I shall retrieve my ravishing radishes. They are ravishing indeed. They're so exquisite. I have a plate strewn with watercress, and I shall pile it pinkly with these beauties. The thing about roasting radishes is that they lose their crunchiness and become juicy, though still with bite. And their pepperiness is mellowed. And then all I need to do is scatter generously with sea salt and some chopped chives. Just exquisite and also divinely edible. Now, you've all got to put up with my bad carving. That's just how it is. So how's everyone been? Good?
Very good.
Very good.
It's taking a long time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. So I am going to leave more. Don't you worry. I think I'm going to drape it in an attractive manner.
Thank you.
My darling, can I have your plate? Yep. Right. Little ribbons of meat. Oh, very good. You're matching radishes.
Looks good. Thank you very much.
Tangle. He's going to mustard it up.
Let's have it here. Mustard. Wow.
I have to have mustard.
Of course.
A panic. I don't have mustard. I think it's you.
I'm in love with this.
There are those who believe that to fiddle in any way with a classic recipe is an act of desecration. Well, it's not a dishonourable stance, but I think it's a flawed one. The classics, in food as in literature, are the very forms that can withstand and indeed spawn a plethora of interpretations. Although I think this Slim Sixes version of Jane Eyre may be taking it too far. I had to buy it for the cover. Anyway, I can't apologise for taking liberties with the Caesar salad when the outcome is so pleasurable. Even a riff on a Caesar salad needs to start with anchovies, or it does as far as I'm concerned. After the fierce saltiness of the anchovies, a hit of garlic. And some olive oil will help these flavours go further. Anchovies, garlic, romaine lettuce, or what we used to call cos, so far so classical. But this is my radical step. It's a question of context. I halve the lettuce and I wilt it in a hot oven. First, I'm going to spoon over the anchovy and garlic. I always like roasting in a very hot oven, so luckily this won't take very long. Instead of fiddly little croutons, I go for a large croûte in the form of a slice of toast drizzled with olive oil to be munched alongside. Ah, the scent is glorious. You see, it's beginning to wilt, and I love these charred pieces. In fact, I have to say, roast or baked lettuces are a wondrous thing. I want some lemon juice and zest. The zest is where all the flavour lies. What you get from the juice is brightness and sharpness. A spritz of this, and I'll pop it back in while I tend to my egg. And I'm frying it. Always a good move. Eat tops with a fried egg are words I always want to hear. And now for a little artistic strewing. I suppose this riff, in a way, is like a little culinary joke, but it is so seriously good. Countless recipes start with an onion, but I prefer the sweeter, gentler tones of a banana shallot. If banana shallots elude you, you could always use a small red onion. These just need to be cut into chunky half moons. This is just so joyously easygoing. It's all about flavour, not finesse. A bit of fennel. Let's halve it. Try and remove the core. And as for the rest, just chop it, tubey bits and all. And a couple of cloves of garlic, not minced or anything, just squished, so I can get the skins off. And the thing about garlic is that when you mince it, it's really strong and hot, but when it's squished like this, it's mellow and sweet. I wouldn't normally cook with extra virgin olive oil, but because the temperature is so low throughout, it doesn't lose its fabulous flavour. Into the pan with this mixture. Oh, I love those colours. And here is the joy of this. The squid goes in just as it is, not chopped. Tentacles, always fabulous. There are really two ways to go with squid. You either cook it quickly at a high heat or go low and slow, and this is low and slow. And because the fennel and the squid both give out quite a bit of liquid, really this is about softly braising rather than frying. So you can see now that the tentacles are beginning to curl and have turned a wonderfully rosy terracotta at the edges. And the body of the squid has lost its translucency. So, on with the dance. Some Orzo pasta. And a can of tomatoes. A good squirt of tomato puree, just to boost the tomatoiness. And whenever I use canned tomatoes, I always swill out the tin with water, get every last drop. And in it goes. Little souvenir from a holiday, a splosh of Orzo. Don't be alarmed by this or by the fennel. Even those who profess aniseed antagonism love this. If you don't have Orzo, you could use vermouth. I'd be happy with red or white. It's important not to season at this stage, not least because any salt added now would toughen the squid. When this bubbles, I'm going to put it in a low oven for about an hour and 20 minutes, by which time the Orzo will have absorbed all the liquid and be quite sticky. And this squid will be so soft, I'll be able to cut into it just with this wooden spoon. And low it bubbles. So clamp on a lid and into the oven. Moment of truth. That's everything I wanted to see. Now it needs some water. Need to give it a good, gentle stir. And the important thing is to get all the sticky bits from the bottom. There's so much flavour in those bits. According to Terry Pratchett, burnt sticky bits were a food group. And since I didn't season before, it's time to go hardcore now, but let's taste. Needs quite a bit of salt. Some pepper. Perfect. I have to stop myself from eating it all now. Got a forest of dill. You can have some more on the table when we eat, but for now, I'll stir this in and put it back in the oven just for 10 minutes with the lid off. A bowl of this with a crisp green salad, food for the Greek gods. I've been alive a long time, and when it comes to eating, I've spent that time wisely and well. So it's not often I come across something that tastes so different to anything I've eaten before. This is a stir fry, comforting and familiar, warm with ginger and hot with garlic. When I first ate this, it was cooked by a chef called Tum, spelt, or rather transliterated, T-U-M, very gratifying. And he used Chinese celery, which is really mostly thin stalk and a lot of leaf. So what I do is I use what I think of as the shoots from a leafy stick of celery, which I chop, none too fastidiously, you'd be shocked to hear. And what the celery gives is an anise flavour, but with herbal freshness. Now comes the same, but bringing base, star anise. And as if to amplify the star anise, some cinnamon, crumbled in shards. I'm making a base for the prawns to cook in. So on top of those spices, some dark soy sauce, steady with this. And on top of that, some light soy sauce, or thin, this is called, this Thai version, with a fantastically fat child on it. A small dollop of oyster sauce for richness. And don't faint, some ready ground pepper. I never thought I'd see the day when I use school pepper in my cooking, but this really works. Now some water. Chicken stock concentrate. I never feel bad about using stock that isn't homemade. Chef Tum used chicken powder, and that's the nearest thing I can get to it. And then some ketchup mayonnaise, which is like sweet soy ketchup. And into this bubbling brown liquid go the prawns. Wouldn't we all like to pop out to the local market to pick up some fresh, plump prawns and then stroll back down the beach? A large sun hat for me. But if I didn't think these frozen prawns worked here, I certainly wouldn't be cooking with them. Some of the sweetness of the prawns goes into this brown liquor, and those deep spices cling to the prawns. And in go some glass noodles, cooked and drained. And stand back while I toss this together. I've always thought of Thai cooking as sprightly and sharp, but there's something about the darkness and depth of this which is exciting. And now a startling punch of ground cloves and a pinch of ground cinnamon. Now, obviously none of these ingredients is new, but it's how they're used in a particular way that makes them taste so different, and that is the essence of what cooking is. This is Thai seafood as you've never tasted it. Tawny tangle of noodles. And these golden prawns. I rather love the shards of cinnamon going through it. Obviously, they're not to be eaten. Final touch. The leaves from the shoots of celery. A friend of mine's father said, if it goes in it, it's got to go on it. I said at the beginning that a stir fry was comforting and familiar, but what this is comforting and unfamiliar. Now, my short ribs. For me, these sing so sweetly when imbued with Asian flavours. Now, Asia is a large continent, and there are rich pickings, and I take full advantage of that because I have a compulsion for buying ingredients from this part of the world, partly because they can look so beautiful. I mean, I love her. But also because I rely on them to provide such bold flavour. Now, I'm going to start now. I could stay here, but I won't. This, my Chinese rice wine. We're all used to cooking with wine, in other words, grape wine, but you use rice wine in cooking, and it's like a revelation. The best way I have of describing this, I suppose, would be to say it's like dry sherry mixed with a little bit of brandy. So there's this warmth and depth. And I also want hoisin. Now, what hoisin brings is that most fashionable of tastes, umami, in other words, intense savouriness. But here, it's matched with an equally rich sweetness, so everything is balanced. And to complete this, we need just a sprinkling of dried chilies. There is a certain graphic beauty to these flintstone hunks of meat. And yes, they are striated and feathered with fat, but it's this fat that gives so much flavour. And there is also the crucial matter of the bones. There is an old English saying, the closer the bone, the sweeter the meat. So a goodly amount of hoisin. You don't need stock because there's so much flavour from the short ribs. So water, simply water. And some Chinese rice wine. And a little bit of soy, not too much. Not a secret ingredient, but a fantastic one. And now I want fennel, I want cinnamon, I want star anise, I want ginger, and I want cloves. And I do this lazily and easily with some 5-spice powder. Quite a lot. But the glory of long, slow cooking is that flavour's always mellow. You can be bolder. And don't be frightened by the amount of chilli. This gives warmth. It's not going to blow your head off. I want a small amount of sesame oil. I don't need any extra fat, but I do want the toastiness of the sesame oil. So let's stir everything together, just so I can get an early preview of this rather feisty fragrance. And a final ingredient, I want 4 fat cloves of garlic. I just grate them straight in. And because of the long time in the oven and the resting afterwards, you don't get any acrid hit from the garlic, just sweet mellowness. And now for the sacred anointing. Brilliantly mixed. This spicy bath that the beef will braise in is scant, but that doesn't matter. I have a plan. I'm making a little covering for it. Slightly lower roof that stops any of this from evaporating and keeps every bit of flavour in. And now, a lazy, long and slow braise in the oven, and deep pleasure awaits. After the beef ribs have had a good 4 hours in a really low oven, let the rich stew cool without its lid or paper covering. As soon as the ribs are cool enough to the touch, I put on my CSI gloves and tenderly remove the bone from each chunk. Then, this is crucial, put the stew in the fridge for at least a day so that the flavours deepen and yet mellow at the same time. When you're ready to serve, lift out the now hard layer of fat that will have risen to the top. Again, I glove up for this, and it's a job I adore doing. And all that's left to do now is reheat the aromatic stew in an oven for about an hour, making sure it's piping hot before serving. And now, the wonderful thing about my short ribs is that because they're cooked so gently and for such a long time, is that they are meltingly soft, but they still hold their shape. I think they need nothing more than a little sprinkle, some coriander. Its earthiness is the perfect partner here. And a few pinpricks of sweet heat with some chilli. And frankly, you know, I have been uncharacteristically patient. Took a long time to cook. My patience limit is reached, so I'm gonna treat myself to a bit now. What I like is a spritz of sharp lime on all that rich sweetness.